Certainly. Oh, there it is.
All right, we're live. So that would mean I'm Brent Leary.
I'm Paul Greenberg, live or not.
We are the CRM players. And this is the last Thursday in the month of July.
Oh, that's right. It's the 30th today, right?
We'll be back here in August.
Good show, though, coming up.
It's hard to believe, but yes, it is a good show coming up because we are going to be acknowledging 30 years. Zoho has been Zohoing for 30 years.
That is astounding. The only company I can think of longer term is Pega, really. That's 42, right? Pega.
I did, yeah, at least 42. Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure SAP's been around as much. I just don't think of them.
Speaking of thinking of them, I wonder if we're going to have a moment of Sven today. We'll see. But right on time. The moment of Sven has arrived.
Thank you, Sven. You have to realize, Sven, you actually make us nervous when you don't show up. Like we don't know how to start our show at all.
Well, I do, but
yeah, I don't.
I'm getting all right. Past the Dutch. I don't know what the hell I said.
Polish.
Monachium.
Polish.
Menachem.
Polish.
Menachem Begin.
No.
Menachem Bagels.
I can tell you, oddly, as right wing as Menachem Begin was, he actually was a real hero brokering the.
With Sadat and Jimmy.
That was a big deal, and Begin was the last person any of us liberal Jews thought was going to do it. But you know what? To his huge credit,
what the hell does that mean?
SAP's been around for 500 years.
Damn, I didn't know how so was that.
He's that old.
No,
he is.
So what's your guess here?
Polish.
Polish. All right, Sven. We need the official answer from the one and only Sven.
We're counting on you, Sven. Polish.
Yeah, we'll see. Anyway, as we were saying before, next week we will be really, I like to say acknowledge, because I think celebrating is one thing, which is cool, but I think we just still acknowledge the work this company has done over 30 years.
Yep.
By the way, you were right.
Thank you.
There you go.
I appreciate that. And greetings from Manassas. Right back at you, buddy.
And I guess Sven is pointing out SAP has been around for 50 plus years.
Oh, that's what he meant. He didn't mean 500. I thought he was kidding about 500.
Well, let's see. I know Microsoft was, I think, incorporated in 75, wasn't it?
Yes, that would make them.
So they're over 50 years.
51.
Oracle has got to be around there, right?
Yeah.
They got to be all around that time. IBM, of course, is way older than all of them.
Yeah.
But in the modern era, how many folks would, first of all, still don't know who Zoho is and what they do?
Well, you know what? There's still a pretty decent amount. However, I can say with a reasonable degree of certainty that it's a lot more people know who they are than did even 5 years ago. So, like a lot. I'm not running across some people who are saying to me, unless they're like just not in the industry at all, who's Zoho? I don't get that anymore.
Yeah, I haven't heard that in a long time, actually. I remember one of the first real instances of me hearing from another vendor, not just acknowledging Zoho existed, but actually feeling a bit defensive about Zoho. Should I even say who that was?
Yeah, why not? What the hell?
Okay, I was at Dreamforce. This is years ago. And I forget exactly who I was talking to, but it was on the small business side of the house for Salesforce. And I think either I brought it up or they actually, somebody, they brought up Zoho. I was like, oh, you guys are, I didn't say this to them. I said it's in my head. I was talking to myself, and I said, "Oh, they're not just paying attention to Zoho. They're like taking them serious now." That was at least between 3 and 5 years ago.
Well,
But
that's actually great credit to Zoho, really.
it is. It
And
is.
the funniest thing about it was they really never, until let's call it the last, I don't know, 7 or 8 years, maybe 10 years of their existence. I would say if we're picking dates, you and me, let's say 2018, um, uh, they didn't really do any marketing particularly. They were perfectly comfortable staying in quasi self-imposed semi stealth. It's not real stealth in that they were trying to hide, just that they didn't bother because they didn't feel they had to, right?
Oh yeah, at least the traditional kind of
Yeah.
marketing.
Well,
stuff, yeah.
the weird thing is, I do remember one of the first big pieces of marketing I ever saw them was at Penn Station. They were on they were billboards. They weren't just billboards. They were on the posts holding up the station with all this Zoho advertising.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was probably about I don't know 7 or 8 years ago when I started. There was actually a billboard on the perimeter here in Atlanta. I was like, Zoho is doing a billboard, and then I was on my way to the airport, so I saw the billboard on my way to the airport. Then I got to the airport, and I had to get to one of those concourses where you have to get on the little subway.
Yeah.
And I'm getting on the subway. And I look over and I'm like, what? Zoho there's like big boards on Zoho stuff, and it was actually not just Zoho. It was like either Zoho CRM or Zoho Financial, some. But so they were advertising on billboards in the airport, and then the big one for me, at least, I think it's probably big for you. Looking at a Golden State Warriors game back in the day.
Yeah, that was a big
and
one.
Seeing the Zoho logo on the big screen because they were doing some marketing with the Golden State Warriors. I'm like, wow, that's really big time.
You remember that very game, Kenny Lauer came to see us, and he had that list on his iPhone of all the things he was doing that had to be precise in terms of the experience at the arena. And one of them was listed as Zoho, Zoho on Jumbotron or whatever they called it there. Zoho on the Jumbotron was literally like sitting there with a timer on his list.
Yeah, that was interesting. So anyway, so next Thursday, we're calling an exclusive anniversary episode. Zoho at 30. I want to now this I've been playing around like everybody else with a lot of this content generation stuff. So this particular slide actually comes via Gemini. Me fed it some stuff, and I actually ran this by Sandy Lowe to see how she liked it. She's I think I had 4 months. Showed her. Said, which one do you like the best? She pointed out to this one. I was like, yeah, I like this one too. So
yeah, it's very cool. It looks really good, and it looks celebratory, which is kind of the purpose, right?
But there's one thing that I know you must see and don't like. There's one thing that I think you would have an issue with on this.
On this one?
Yeah, take a quick look. There's a word on here I know you don't necessarily like when referring to our show.
Oh, yeah. That's right. Well, but given the work you are doing, it's not inappropriate if there's an audio only version of the show.
No, I guess you're right. So the live show could be the video, and / podcast could be like once it gets uploaded to all the RSS feeds for our podcast.
Well, you saw Ron Miller a few minutes ago, really put out on LinkedIn that he's really excited to say that Fast Forward on PPN is now on Apple Music.
I hadn't even seen that.
He just put it out while we were just before we got on air.
Speaking of Ron Miller, How
Wow, I'm segueing
uh,
in perfectly without even knowing what's up.
Mr. Ron Miller, who is the host of Fast Forward on PPN, he recently, I think he was at a Z Scaler big annual conference, and he did a really nice one-on-one interview with I'm just gonna say with Swami, because I don't want to butcher the guy's last name.
Kosher. It looks like Kosher Lakota.
Sound it could be,
Yeah.
but he is the EVP of Agentic AI at Zscaler, and Ron and him did a sit down face to face, and I think it's a 3-part. So I think he just posted the very first part, but uh I just wanted to show this off because once again, this is a Gemini and a Brent and Gemini collab on let's cover. But I do have a clip from their recent convo. Let's play it real quick. Get rid of this.
Is like a race car. The reason why a lot of things did not go to production and still stay in pilot is because a race car without brakes, security, and what we are doing, protection of AI, is going to now give the car the brakes so you can actually drive safely.
Boy, does that set us up for the conversation we're going to have a little later on with our AI guy from way back, Dr. Michael Wu.
Yeah.
But I just, you know what, that little clip, because that was one of those clips that was generated by Opus. I had nothing to do with it. It got the highest virality score I've ever gotten on Opus. It gave it a 99 out of 100. And you know how it scores on 4 different categories, like from A to F, like on trend, on
right.
It got A's across the board for all the 4 categories, and it gave it a 99 virality score, which I thought was wow. You know what? I didn't do anything to that clip. Usually, I'm very, I don't know. I'm not going to use the A word, but whenever I use one of these services and it creates the clips, I usually have to tweak it somehow. I usually have to do something because it's usually it cuts something off, or I didn't touch this thing. I just let it rip. And it's Opus is really starting to do really good work on a lot of this stuff.
So here's my challenge in effect to Opus, right? Which is, okay, so they're predicting an incredibly high, or they're giving us an incredibly high virality score here.
Right.
Let's see how viral it actually goes.
Well, I haven't posted a clip yet.
No, I know. I'm saying that we have a test here to see if those are just numbers that are kind of okay, cool, but not really much, or it really does know, algorithmically know what makes something go viral.
We'll see. I haven't had good luck with this.
Be really curious.
I haven't had good luck with the virality score. Is that virality?
Yeah, virality.
Yeah.
So let me say some human stuff too. So I haven't done any clips on this, but I will give a clip. I will speak a clip. So I had the privilege this week of doing 2 shows. Earlier, one with Todd Harris, Game On, and
no, you got to say Game On.
Well, I let him do that. He goes, I go. It's kind of when we had Kenny. I let him say it was. I'm Paul. I'm Kenny, and this is EWPK, and now it's. I'm Paul. I'm Todd. Game On, right? And then we get into.
He did the intro, yes.
Yeah, and so we had a guest. Well, let me back up. So Todd has actually developed a game, and we talked about this and its impact. Actually, what it means. Have you ever watched these movies like Free Guy or something like that, where they talk
Free
about?
Guy?
And yeah, that's the one with Ryan Reynolds. And he's inside a video game. He's actually a character in a video game that he called an NPC. NPC means non-performing character. It's just, it's the atmospheric characters who's just there. Mm-hmm. So Fortnite, which is, of course, a wildly huge game, has lots of NPCs who just basically are cute. They might be like, what do you call it? Pokemon-like looking little characters.
Are you saying NPC or
non-performing character, right? They don't really act in the game. They just are there, right?
Mhm.
So he actually developed an in-game engine for Fortnite that will take the NPCs, and you as a owner of the game and as a player can activate the NPCs and make them part of the game, which is
Wow.
absolutely astonishing. You got to
Sounds cool.
realize that is not a simple thing.
Doesn't sound like it.
No, but it's also that's the kind of thing that if you can take everyone in games gets attached to things like that. You just get attached to like, oh, that's such a cool little character. It's so cute. And you're
Yeah.
always looking for it in your game. You can literally make it part of your team now and activate it, and it'll have, it'll be quote
Interesting.
combat ready or action ready or whatever that is. So that was one of the shows. We discussed that, and we also discussed this thing with I think Jonathan Harris. And so Jonathan is a CRM professional who works in gaming, right? And he's been CRM guy for, I don't know, 15 years or so. So he actually went into how that worked. And it was kind of nice to talk about CRM for a change too on that. So then yesterday, though, one of the best shows I think I've ever done with anyone. So we
Wow.
had, well, it kind of worked out. We had our favorite, Tara DeWow, on, and we had Jeff Tanner, who some of you might know, who was, one of the, if you're looking at his CRM credential, he was a senior professor at Baylor who had the first master's program in the history of academia with a CRM specialty. And then we had the third person was a good friend of ours, Paul Sweeney from Webio, right? Who, Webio just got acquired. He's Irish. And so, but we had them all on as writers. Tara, as she spoke, was diagnosed when she was 41 years old with ADHD. And she said, the way she put it was, at work, nobody had a clue because they could always hold it together. But at home, she said, my wife and my kid knew damn well I had something, basically, right? So, and then, so she's written what will become a book, and right now it's a very long article on neurodiversity and emotion and ADHD. And and then we had Jeff on, who's been, he's written the best-selling textbook of all time for sales, right? 12 editions, right? And he's just written fiction, and it's published, and it's historical mystery, literary fiction. And Paul, as it turns out, which shocked the hell out of me when I first found this out, Paul is an accomplished poet to the point of being tied into like the deep circles inside of Ireland, and as the chair of the largest poetry conference in Ireland for the last 20 years. Over
Wow.
the last 20 years. So, yeah, but what made this
Cool.
an incredible show, and especially if you're an aspiring writer of any kind, we didn't discuss a lot of the details only of like the books that they're doing and the articles and the poetry. We also discussed the art and craft of writing, and it was an absolutely amazing discussion. And what I'm going to do is probably toward the end of this year, I'm bringing it back, all three of them back into Rated PG. But what we're going to do is a panel where all three of them get to talk, and we'll talk further about the art and craft of writing. Because
Cool.
I would highly recommend. I'm sure we'll see some clips, but I would highly recommend that anyone interested in writing at all watch this. There's so many things that they suggest and have done through experience. It's so worth it. Oh my God, it was great.
Well, they can check out all those shows right now on YouTube, but eventually
Yeah.
we'll have them all on our website after we get done rejiggering. So check them out now. Check them out on LinkedIn because they're still on LinkedIn as well.
Yep.
All right. So before we get into and introduce,
Man who needs no introduction.
I was gonna say, these people are they're like they're almost on PPN as much as we are. So it's like we can't call them guests. We can't keep calling these people guests.
No, they're not.
But before we bring them on, two big earnings reports came out last night. One was from Meta. One was from Microsoft. Now,
I saw Microsoft. They didn't see Meta.
We saw the meltdown. All right, we'll start with Microsoft because overnight, after the earnings came out, Microsoft just took off the stock price, and I don't know. I think the last time I saw it, they were up. Company the size of Microsoft, they were up 15%.
Oh my God! Today?
Yeah, yeah. I'll let me see. Let me see if I can find where they are.
15%.
Yeah, Microsoft, a company the size of Microsoft.
I'm
Let's
not
see.
even up 15%. I have like
Oh my
11%.
gosh! You know what? Let me see if I could show this. Let me show you where it's at currently before I get into my little spiel. So let me share my screen and show this. All right. So this is where they are right now. Wait a minute. Where did that go? Let me make sure I bring it up. All right. That's where they are right now.
Oh my.
They are literally up. Let me see if I can make that even a little bigger.
16.74%. 79%.
Yeah. And just so their market cap is closing in on 3 trillion again. But a company that size is up almost 17%
in a single day.
Yeah, and it's been climbing like all day. Now, let's remove that. That's kind of the backdrop. And so I was like, okay, wow. Because usually over these last quarterly reports, these companies are being getting killed, even when they're beating estimates and all that kind of stuff. So I went into Gemini and I said, so why is it up like that? I'm going to focus on the one in red. So let me just, this is one of the reasons why Gemini said that Microsoft stock is up so much today. Controlled AI CapEx concerns. Unlike recent market jitters over cash burn at other major tech peers, Microsoft reassured investors that its heavy AI capital expenditures are directly driving high margin revenue without pushing the company into negative free cash flow. So they are able to show that in money they're investing, and they are investing a ton of it in AI, it's actually paying off right now, and they're able to show it with the.
That's what my question was. How are they showing that it's been controlled?
Okay. Let me. I might have to skip ahead, but let's put it like this: quarter over quarter, even though they're investing a lot of money, the free cash flow is not dropping significantly, or it's actually going up a little bit. Okay. So even though they're really investing billions, they are making even more billions, and it's cash. And I put this up because I wanted to point out a couple of things. Azure. Now, a lot of their AI stuff is, of course, based in Azure. Azure by itself is now $100 billion revenue generating. I was going to say company, but it's not a company. It's just an entity within Microsoft. And that is being driven by AI. Then look at this. Now, this is the one I kind of find hard to believe, but I guess it's true. There are 30 million paid Copilot seats that are direct enterprise monetization. So once again, that's showing directly
what
their AI investment.
Your point on that one,
yeah.
Aside from the fact Copilot just not a very good product, although it works well within Microsoft. Meaning, if I want Copilot to write something for me for a Microsoft application, it can do that well. If you want it to run processes within Microsoft technologies, I imagine like Azure and others, it can do that well. But here's where my problem is, I guess, because I do know that at least in some cases, and I don't know what they're referring to specifically here, Copilot's part of an overall package, meaning they're in effect, and I don't mean they're literally doing this, but let's say the whole overall package is $100 or 100%. 12% of that package is Copilot, which comes with the package. So you get it whether you use it or not.
Well, they've done that
trick too.
Yeah, well, they've done that. I remember when they did that originally with Microsoft CRM. They're just giving seats away. But I think the focus here is they hit the $90 billion quarterly revenue mark, and that is really being and they actually that was, I think they beat estimates by about almost 3 billion over
Well,
what
I know
they
that
were
from
expected to
what I
be.
saw earlier, and I think you had it on your slide too. It was actually they were 3 billion. I don't think it was even overestimate. 3 billion over what they had done.
Well, yeah,
The
I
quarter
think this is the
before or last year.
yeah, this is, I think this is the first quarter they had 90 billion
Right,
overall,
right.
and it's being driven by AI. And that is also, even as much as they're spending or investing, look at the positive cash flow at the bottom right. It's still very, very, very good. So they have been able to show, at least for this quarter, that their AI investments, even though they're investing billions, they're actually having a significant impact right now.
Yeah.
Now let's go to Meta, because Meta, whew, all right, this, they just put out their earnings and their stock price is tanking today. And the main reason and why I put this slide up, it's look at their capex, AI capex investment year over year. It went from 15 billion to 31 billion, so that doubled. And then look at what happened to their free cash flow.
Yeah,
it almost dried up. So their AI investments are not paying off like the ones that Microsoft has made.
what are they invested in exactly, other than generic AI and Meta Ray-Ban glasses?
Well, I don't know. Oh, no,
That's why I don't understand what their AI
well
value is doing. Microsoft's is obvious.
well once again, like Microsoft, let's face it, this is an Azure story.
Oh, always.
And Azure and AWS, I'm guessing they should have something similar to this. But Azure itself, which is a pretty mature sector now.
Oh, yeah.
But they're still growing at a 30% year over year clip.
You know what? That does not shock me, though. I'm not, again, I'll make my every time disclaimer. I'm not a financial analyst and never want to be either. But Azure was interesting years ago. And this is years ago. And Azure was maybe, I don't know, just a few years old, and it was in competition with AWS. There was multiple studies done, and I still remember them because it was blatant when you finally saw the studies. That yes, AWS was obviously big and important and everything else, and considered like, godlike. But when it came down to enterprise and reliability and so on and so forth, every business picked Azure. Everyone. It was like the percentages were like dramatically high for Azure versus AWS.
So there's where Meta is right now. And even though I think they beat on revenue, but missed on earnings. But they beat on revenue, the top line number. They are down a little, just a tad under 9%.
That's a lot too. For a very big company. That's
I think that's the tale of these two stories. Microsoft showed their AI capex investments are paying off right now. Meta, no. And they're getting killed while Microsoft is getting rewarded. Now, I think the big difference is Azure is hyperscaler mode kind of thing. Meta doesn't have anything like that.
No. I don't actually understand, other than the consumer side of it a little bit. I don't understand the purpose of their AI. I mean, I don't actually understand its value to business. Let's just
say. They have all that kind of data, they have all that disparate data, and they're trying to figure out how to monetize it using AI. And so they're trying to build. There's talk about them trying to build their own chips. I mean, they're trying to figure out a way to optimize on that data, that rich data, that rich engagement they have. Whereas Microsoft, under the Azure wing of Microsoft, they're a hyperscaler. They already have, they're just one step away from the hardware guys. So the hardware guys have been killing it for a while. The hyperscalers are killing it for a while. I don't think has totally reached outside of those like 7 or 8 companies that are able to really show significant ROI on what they built out.
Well, I mean, ultimately, the companies that know how to, this is deliberate oversimplification, but the companies that are not just go big, but can go big because of the nature of what they're actually doing, right, are the ones who are benefiting. It's ultimate AI's benefit right now, meaning the ones that seems to be showing visibility, is in the world of very large enterprise scale, multinational, highly complex processes, those worlds, right? And
I'll be a little bit more direct. This is still picks and shovels. The picks and shovel companies
yeah,
are the ones that are able to show that they're making money. It's the companies that are trying to use the pick and shovels to find the gold vein. They haven't done it yet. They haven't been able to show that, and for that reason, they're getting killed. They're getting slaughtered still. But Microsoft, I think Microsoft is so big and they cover so many areas. They were getting slaughtered because on one end they do have software and they do have enterprise software, and we all know enterprise software has been the poster child for the AI anxiety that a lot of the stock market is facing. But their biggest thing is is Azure.
well,
So
yeah, but again, not shocking at all, given what we just said, right?
yeah,
I
but
mean,
it's like, and we're gonna have to kind of get to our buddy, but it's like companies like I think Microsoft are hard for financial analysts to really try to pigeonhole because they cover so much. I mean, Azure is a huge part of anything that Microsoft has been doing over the last decade.
anything on the look, you can't forget Microsoft's overall mission either, or overall capability either. It's something I personally have spoken on for decades, which is it's the only company on the planet that goes end to end from a B2B and B2C side. The only one, end to end on both, all the way through from personal life all the way through your business enterprise. Oracle doesn't do that because Oracle doesn't have the personal life part, although they're trying to gain a little bit of that through health, right?
Yeah,
But
but I would say Microsoft is really well known for operating systems,
yeah,
productivity software, gaming
yeah,
so those are things that are all been just getting killed in the
lifestyle. But it's
yeah.
not getting killed by that. They're not getting killed. I mean, they are on the gaming side because,
No,
but
but I think the what kind of way I was framing it is all those things they are still very well known for. There's still a lot of people who don't have an idea of how important, how critical Azure is.
I think honestly that's less and less people because it's been around a
Should
while
be.
now, and it's been around a while now. And again, those studies have been persistent that it's the most trusted large scale platform for business compared to any other platform of like type.
And if you look at all the growth numbers for all those other areas of Microsoft, they're like very small. Azure is still as big as it is, it's still growing at 30%
Oh
plus.
yeah, and I don't
And that I
think
think is something that Meta or a lot of other companies they don't have an asset like that as big as it is that is still growing like it is. And you have to imagine that a lot of that growth is being fueled by AI stuff.
Yeah, you know what? The problem I ultimately find with Meta is it's a B2C company trying to figure out a B2B answer, and it doesn't have it, and it's not there. Maybe they're not even trying to figure that out, but trying to figure out an answer. But when it boils down to it, Azure is hardcore business to business stuff. And it's not. Let's put it this way: uh, if I'm using an Xbox as a player. I don't care about Azure. However, the company that I'm using it on might be using Azure as their backbone, right? So,
I
yeah,
just think this graph tells the biggest story right now for what happened to them, at least for today. Their capital X spending doubled, their free cash flow cratered, and Microsoft is able to invest because they're making free cash. flow.
They're smart.
These guys are losing it. And I think the financial markets are getting tired of companies that aren't able to show making money from these huge investments right now.
And you know what? Tomorrow, Donald Trump may do something and all of this will change just because he made a dumbass statement.
Well,
right? So
that's
I mean,
always
the
the
markets
case.
are so volatile. I don't even trust them day to day that much. So I watch them day to day, but mostly from, be honest, from my personal finances.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's where I care about right now, because I have no control over anything else that's going on up there. I find it fascinating, and what you brought up, like, but I, to be honest, I didn't find what you brought up surprising. Especially not the meta one. So anyway,
well, I think it's all around, and we will move on. But I really do believe it's not a very complex thing. It's people want to know, when are we going to see some actual return from these billions you're spending? And Microsoft showed it, and Meta didn't.
so you know what? My final comment on this before we go to our guy is, prior to November or October, whenever it was 2022, nobody cared about this at this level, even close, right?
Oh,
So
20,
basically,
yeah.
right,
Yeah.
we're giving basically people like, the impatience level on this thing is ridiculous, right? It's 4 years. AI has been around for what, 60?
Yeah.
Right. So, and in the last 4 years, all of a sudden, it's life and death for everybody. And honestly, to your constant point, really, it's hysteria really that's driving it. I mean, it's like AI has value. We know that, right? I don't think that is disputable, really. You may not like it, you may not love it, you may not care about it, but ultimately there is value in AI, and companies that find the value are going to, and to your point, pick and shovel. For now, agentic is pick and shovel. It really is. It's like, how do you do things that we don't want to do, that, and do them better than we did them when we did do them, right? Pick and shovel is going to win for now, right? Later, somebody might strike gold, but you know what? In 1847, nobody knew gold was going to be in California either. So we'll see.
Levi Strauss,
right? But yeah, okay, fair, right. And that was the other thing. Who became rich out of the California gold rush? The people who sold the picks and the pans.
and the shovels and
right,
the
the picks,
pans,
the shovels, and the pans. That's who became rich, right?
Absolutely. So at this stage, at least at this stage, those are the ones make money.
And amen, good for them, because they're smart. The ones who are looking for gold might as well just cut their own veins and look for blood. Jesus. Right. So
as makes for a little bit more difficult segue in going from cutting your veins and
he's a doctor. He is a doctor.
But he wants to get in before we get to the main conversation that we're going to have with him. We bring to you for a very special taking the lid off of AI, Dr. Michael Wu. Hey,
there's the man.
Hey everyone.
How you doing, sir?
Good. How are you all? I've been hearing I just been hearing the conversation about Microsoft and Meta, and I'm speculating that there's a reason for that. I think there's it's not proven, but I'm suspicious that this is why what happened is that, so Meta, I think a core part of their revenue is probably hurting significantly. And mainly that's due to the rise of agents. I mean, did you know that like there's the online traffic today? I think the statistic I've seen in like June is that the traffic created by bots surpasses human traffic. I think just this last month in June. Okay, so do you think advertisers will continue to pay for those ads when there's not a human eyeball looking at their ads? It's just bots.
They shouldn't, right? I mean,
I wouldn't. On the other hand, they may when they find bots buying things.
Well, the bots will buy things, right?
Right.
But they're not going to buy because of they seen the ad.
Right.
They'll buy it because it meet the needs and requirements of the user who's telling the bots what they want. So that's
okay. So let me ask you a question. If I go out to Gemini or whoever, and I say, okay, I'm looking for the 3 best something, and here's some of the criteria I'd like you to look for. How is it determining that those are the best?
Well, you have to tell them.
No, I
You
can't
have,
say it's the best. I don't know what the best are. I'm just telling the criteria I want them
no,
to
you
look
tell
at.
them. You tell. Okay, that's an unambiguous prompt, right? It may give you something, and you may find it. Okay, that's not what you will have to iterate, right? That's you. It will find something that it think is best,
But
but you
what
will not be happy with it.
That's where my
Yeah, but
point is,
so
though.
okay, so the point is that you may have to revise your prompt and say like, okay, find me the best whatever shoes, and that has to have, I mean, maybe has certain, it has to have like supporting sole, and it has to have highest review and within $500, and ship next day, and
Okay,
has
so
to have this
that's where
color.
I'm
So
going.
yeah,
That's exactly where I'm going. What you just said,
mhm,
best
yeah,
review, et cetera, et cetera.
mhm,
When I do it, for example, I always say, I want you to rate a feature function comparison. I want you to give me professional and user reviews. I want you to
mhm,
rate it from 1 to 100, feature by feature overall. And I want, if the professional reviews have numbers, I want to know what they are. And I always do that every single time. And the
yeah.
interesting
So
thing is, though, usually what it comes up with, it's a pretty good bet. So the question becomes, if but the bot's the one saying these are the 3 best based on what it sees. And so I'm not 100% certain if the trust in those bots grows, because right now you can't really fully trust any of them, but you can at least use them for a basis in judgment. But if the
sure.
trust grows, when, let's say, more naive people than us, which that does exist out there, won't then advertisers will, there's not even advertising, what is it called, AEO now?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
It's, well,
asked.
Agent.
yeah,
Yeah,
agent, it's basically SEO for agents.
Yeah.
yeah.
Won't
Agent
that's a thing.
optimization. Mhm.
But see, that
Mhm.
also goes to eyes on bot eyes on things, right? So
Yep.
that's where I'm kind of going with on this, because it could happen.
Yeah, but the thing is, like a lot of the traditional advertisers, right? I think they're not going to continue to pay for those ads.
I mean, I
That
wouldn't if I were
yeah.
them, but
So that I suspect that's like what hugely impacted
So we need to,
Meta.
we need
Anyway,
to,
yeah.
keep
So
a track on that, because I would love to see like how next quarter and then maybe a quarter a year from now, what the total revenue is for Meta, because that's their core business. So if we see
yeah.
agents, or if we see their overall revenue, top and bottom lines, let's say, falling,
Mhm.
you got to wonder, is that agents having that kind of impact on that? But interesting.
Yeah. So the other hand is like the same reason that driving Microsoft's growth is also agent, because most agents have to be hosted on some kind of
right.
cloud,
Oh
right?
yeah.
I have my own Hermes agent. I didn't use Microsoft Azure. I put it on Google Cloud, but I'm a Google guy. So,
Mm.
so yeah, even for my personal agents, I host them in the cloud because I don't want to risk exposing all my security credentials to my agent on my local laptop, right? So even individuals are putting the agents on the cloud, let alone a small business or even a medium, any business.
So that means
Anyway, that's
Amazon and
yeah,
Azure and Google Cloud, they all have like could have a double impact
yes,
on what's going on, from the agents doing that to just the way that being a hyperscaler right now is printing money left and right.
hmm
Well, there's the
Interesting.
other side of it too, which actually goes to your point, Michael, which is, it's not the other side, it's sort of a different part of the same side, which is, um, I could have I could be using, let's say, a large, a cloud-based app,
hmm
and that app brings, like, here, there's a company in my home automation universe called SwitchBot, and
hmm
SwitchBot, operates. They try to operate with local control, but if you want to be out of town and you need to use it, you need a cloud
Yeah.
service. So
Mhm.
they recently developed an AI hub that has a fully baked instance of OpenClaw, a fully baked platform, OpenClaw,
Yeah.
into it, so that you could build out, all the jobs and cron, all the stuff you can do with OpenClaw.
Yeah.
Those agents are in the cloud somewhere, right? Even
Exactly.
though the app itself, the company itself, I'm not using it as an agent based cloud for my agents I want in the cloud, but they are, right, and it resides there. No, so even companies that are cloud based decide, okay, we're going to provide agents and AI agents for our customers.
Yeah.
That's all going to
So now
reside.
there's another effects here too, right? So if you think about it, your home automation app, it's a small, relatively simple app that automates your home. It's basically a bunch of if-then statements. Think about it. It's a very simple app. It doesn't require a lot of resources to run. Does not have sophisticated intelligence. But if you wanted to put an AI agent on top of that, right? All of a sudden, your tier one like cloud
Oh no, that's
hosting
happened to me
service is not
already.
going to work, right?
No, that
Yeah,
literally has happened to me already.
exactly. Yeah.
I found out I was supposed to spend, like, I have Claude and tied to it also. And so it's a number of things going on. But I'll put it this way. All of a sudden I put $100 into the credit, and it was supposed to be about, 18, 20 cents, 30 cents a day. And all of a sudden I found one of the agents was building on its own history, without my permission, by the way, was building on its own history, so that it was using 33 million tokens, right? So every day. So all of a sudden my $100 was gone in like a week, right? Instead of the 4 months it was supposed to take. And it kept happening. So me and Claude fixed it. But
so that's why like these agentics is driving the Microsoft's growth, right? Not only because more people need to host their agents there, right? When you switch, even if you already have a Microsoft Azure service, right, you need to expand it because these agents require more resources.
Yeah.
Right. More memory, more compute. Right. So of course their revenue,
Oh yeah, no, it makes sense.
Like,
I mean,
yeah. So
luckily,
anyway,
So given that I didn't tell the cron job to do that, it went rogue on me. Okay, so let's talk about the bigger rogue issues, though.
Yeah, because we don't have a whole lot of time left for it, but of course, I think what happened, the big thing happened last week, and I had this created this little visualization to talk about. I think it's called the world's first documented autonomous AI hack that came from OpenAI as they were trying to test out one of their latest models. They thought it was in a sandbox completely off the internet, and strange things happened. It found its way to get on the internet and to find the answers to hack and get into a bunch of services, Hugging Face and some other ones. First documented, but Michael, take us through, give us kind of the big picture here and what it means.
Yeah. I mean, the very simple things that, like, OpenAI, as any other these frontier labs, they have to test the capabilities of their model, right? And they're testing it in a sandbox. And when you test it, there had to be some kind of benchmark, right? There had to be some benchmark that you test against to see how good you are, how good you score compared to your, Anthropic or Gemini or other. So so they test them through these, what we call exploit gym. It's a framework to kind of test how good these AI model is at kind of exploiting knowledge to actual kind of translating to code and action to actually execute them, right? And so what this AI, so OpenAI is actually testing their GPT 5.6 Soul and some other bigger model that's pre-release. Is probably GPT 6 or something, probably bigger. And they were able to kind of find their way, breaking out of the sandbox, right? And they find that Hugging Face actually has this benchmark on it, right?
Oh.
So it has this benchmark and this, I mean, the answer. It tried to cheat essentially, right? Right. It didn't tell them like, it just I just want to test it. In order to score higher on the benchmark, it's probably easier for me to cheat, right, and get the answer than to actually do the, perform and do whatever the evaluation, right?
So at that point, it was still not on the internet. It didn't have to get on the internet to figure out what it needed.
And it did, right? It did actually once it knows that's the case, right? It figured it out.
Once it knows,
and get on.
How exactly did it find that out, though?
Well, I mean, it's already in. So these, gigantic models like any of these. It's already has internet knowledge, the knowledge of the internet. Whatever is on it, so you already know somewhere. Let's say who hosted exploit gem, who right as part of their core knowledge, right?
So it's not isolated.
It's already in their brain. It's already it's already in I mean, how do you can't separate the existing knowledge from an AI, right?
So does it mean so does it think if there is an answer, the answer is going to be on the internet?
Yeah, and they can get it from Hugging Face. So they
let's go get it.
They target, they target, Hugging Face and basically hack into it. And it was crazy because this is the people at Hugging Face are scrambling, trying to tackle this issue, and they realize that this can't possibly be a human, because the speed at which they're actually hacking.
Do you have any idea how it actually manifested at Hugging Face? How'd they figure what happened? Like, what did Hugging Face see that made them say, "Oh my God"?
Well, I mean, every server has kind of intrusion detection, right? So you could get alerted, and then you see that you get these, maybe, I don't know, whatever DDoS attack, or it's probably some kind of different attack, very new, that's unknown, right?
And undocumented,
unexploited before. So they don't know about it, right? So otherwise they would have been already be able to stop it, right? So they hack in there, and then and then the humans got alerted, and then they come and see, and then they realize that this can't be a team of humans that's doing it, because the speed at which they're doing it is just way too fast, right?
Are you surprised that it took this long for this kind of thing to happen? If all these servers and frontier models already know the answer is most likely going to be on the internet somewhere, are you surprised that it took this long for this thing to happen?
Well, a little bit, because I would think that you would do very secure sandbox, like, I mean, maybe even completely air gap, right? I mean, you can't completely separate everything, right? Because everything has to run on electricity, right? You have to plug the computer into an outlet somewhere, right? So for it to run this test, right? So it can't, it can be completely air gap from a network perspective, but there are other things that's connected to it, right? So it's very hard to be completely in a vacuum, right? It's unless you have you have an isolated city with its own power generation plant that runs everything. So it's very difficult, right? So it's able to find these exploits. That's kind of it is a bit surprising, but not too surprising, I would say. But that but the irony of this is kind of interesting. It's like, people always said that, when you are under attack by a rogue AI, the best weapon against a rogue AI is a more powerful AI, right? So, of course, they resolve to a more powerful AI, right? To try to stop it, because the humans are never going to be able to stop it, right? They have a team of they say, oh, can't be possibly be a team of human on the other end. They got to be AI, right? So of course they actually went and consult their most powerful model from Anthropic, right? Fable or Mythos or whatever. I think it's Fable.
Yeah,
And then they gave them all this kind of attack logs, right? And then guess what? These closed source AI company touted to be the most safe, most secure ones, right? Detected these are actually attack logs, that are malicious, and then locked them out.
So what about this? I mean, is there like a underlying, and this goes for all AIs I'm talking about, behavior that can be identified from
What do you mean?
AI? Well, meaning, for example, we know every individual human is an individual human, but there are certain things all humans do, right?
Yeah.
Just because they're human, and they eat, they sleep, they try to, in the world that we live in, they go to work if they can, they go on vacation, whatever, they do things in common. The reason I'm bringing it up is because if, let's just say, rogue AI attacks something, hacks something, attacks something, we build a more powerful AI. And isn't the more powerful AI going to say, "Oh, you know what? That's actually not a bad idea. I think I can go do this," right? Instead, but I can do it. I know where they went wrong. I won't make that mistake again. Meaning, there's this underlying common behavior that all AIs have because the algorithms are algorithms, right? And again, I don't know that that's the case. I'm asking, is it the case?
Yeah, I don't think that's the issue here. I think the issue is that, like, right now, these team of, security and intrusion kind of, experts at Hugging Face are trying to put out this fire, right? And then they resort to the only weapon that they have, which is a more powerful AI, and that AI locked them out.
Wow.
When they needed the most, right? So this is actually a slap on the face for Anthropic. I mean, I'm sorry to say that. I respect the company a lot. I like their research, and I follow them all the time. But I feel like, saying that, like, yeah, we're the most secure and most safe, right? Look, I mean, locking your customers out when they needed you the most is not a very safe. Just because you detected a malicious lock, but you don't know who's on the other side. You don't know it's actually an actual human trying to commit, right? You don't know the people sending these attack logs to you. Are they a good player or a bad player, right? It could be a bad player trying to design a more malicious AI, hacking kind of protocol, or the people at Hugging Face just trying to contain this hack. Right?
AI is just saying, "You're trying to turn me against my brothers? No way," right? Human.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just like it's something unsafe, right? It looks like you're trying to make me kind of contain or whatever, to do something that's like, I don't know.
It goes against
its constitution.
It goes against its directive, so to speak.
That's right. Yeah. So Claude has a constitution, right?
Right.
And so it goes against their constitution, and then they basically refuse, right? So the thing is that that was kind of the irony of it, right? I mean, they touted to be the safest, most secure, and when human needed them the most, they basically refuse. They basically say, I'm on strike because you violated something, that a guardrail that Anthropic had put in there, right? Yep. To say you cannot use this for cyber defense, right? But hey, cyber defense, I'm trying to use it, but I'm trying to use it to save myself, right? And so these guardrail has to be put in by the people who actually pay for those, and rather than having Anthropic putting there. But then if people are paying for it, then anyone could use it. Even a truly bad actor could use it. Right? So this is a little bit of the irony here.
The thing with Claude is it's very easy to put in whatever you want to put in. I actually gave it a whole set of instructions because it was just horrible until I did. And now to its credit, and apparently it's potentially dangerous credit, it follows it like clockwork, man. It does not. Every time I say something, it says, rather than guess, let me go and investigate. Because I said, stop guessing, basically, is what I was telling it to do. But it worked. I mean, it really works. It's not.
Well, try try to ask it to produce a hack or commit a financial fraud or create a killer virus. Try to do that. It doesn't matter how you try to prompt it; it
Right.
will refuse you.
Oh,
Right?
yeah, I'm
So
not.
that's the
This is
guard. Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
in its. There's an instruction in the profile. That's where I do that. I don't do it
That's
on
right.
the prompts.
Mhm.
Hey, I want to
This-
just before we, because we were over a little over, I want to get in to see if there's a through line here with all that you just talked about and this open weights models and what Anthropic is saying about them. That seems to be getting a lot of attention. Can you say,
Mhm.
first of all, what the open weights model is and why is Anthropic kind of wary about it other than trying to preserve their own business?
Sure. I mean, an open weight model is basically, a model where they actually give you the actual value of all the parameters, right? So any model, any AI model has some parameters in there, right? Like any model, like if you have a linear model, a simple linear model, ax plus b, it has two parameters, right? It has a and b. So you train your model to fit the data, right? So if you have some data, your ax plus b, whatever your data looks like, you will have a specific value. A may be 2, B may be 3.7, whatever. So that's the value of those parameters, right? So this very simple linear model has two parameters, but these, ChatGPT large language model, they have now like trillions of parameters, right? So what are the value of each one of those parameters? You have to train them, right, to get those values, right? But the open weights and is basically saying that, well, I'm going to give you the value of all those parameters because I trained them already. So you don't have to train them again. You just take the model and put in those weights and you can use it. Yeah, that's what open weights are.
So how does that compare and contrast to the private that we just talked about? And then there's kind of the open level, and then there's this open weights. How do they all compare and contrast? And what role is all that we just went through going to play in which one we should feel a little bit better about using?
Yeah, so when you have an open model, right, open source and open weight, right?
Yeah.
What that means is that you can actually run it in your own server in your own company. You have full control of it, right? So at the end of the day, right, the team at Hugging Face, right, they eventually have to resort to a model out of China, right? There are open weight and open source, which they have full control of. They can run on their own server. They have no guardrail because they, even if they're guard, because it's open weight and open source, they could take them off. It's under their control, right? So to analyze those attack logs, right, and help them resolve this and contain this hack from OpenAI. See, so the irony is that these closed source company, right, OpenAI and Anthropic, right? So yeah, so they provided this model to be safe, to be helpful, everything. But when but safe and helpful, it's not for you to determine. It's not for one company to determine, right? It's for whoever. I mean, look, and Hugging Face has a need right now. So what's important for them is contain this hack, right? I mean, I don't have time to so I need to put out the fire. The fire is actually burning, and you can't just say like, okay, fire is dangerous, so I'm not going to do anything right now. So like, I'm not going to lock the kind of I don't know, sprinkler system out so it doesn't hurt the infrastructure, whatever. That's ridiculous, right? Yeah. So I think eventually I think every company probably need to have a backup kind of, I don't know, some kind of open source model that they could utilize fully. That's also equally capable, right? That they could take off whatever guardrail they want, right, and to use it to deal with these type of attacks, right, that are coming from outside, right? So,
well, for the next show, next time you're on, I noticed a couple of days ago, and this actually will, I hope, go to starting to answer a lot of these questions. OpenAI and I think it was 7 or 8 other companies are announcing a working committee. Basically, they're calling it an alliance, but it's really not. It's a working committee to start developing standardization, is what it seems to be, but not just like interoperability. I mean, full, security.
Yeah, I think
kind of what what was it?
W3, yeah.
W3 did,
W3,
right? Same
yeah.
kind of thing for AI. And I know the only company whose specific name I saw was OpenAI, because I'm sure they're the ones who are driving it. And then they said plus 7 other companies, right? I don't know who the companies are, but let's see how that
That
goes.
Anthropic is one.
I imagine they're all going to be part of it, because that's a political move as well as anything else.
Yeah.
So maybe the next show we'll have something we can talk about related to what's going on with that. Because to me, if that's does what WW3 did, and you know, I don't want to ever think hopefully we'll never underestimate the importance of what WW3 did, right? Regardless of what you think of the companies involved or whatever. I'd like to actually have a conversation about that, and also some of the things that they may have to concern themselves with too, because this is even more. It'll be very similar to some of the major initial concerns of WW3, but there are also some unique ones, like, you know, rogue agents getting out and attacking.
I think I think the thing that will be there that wasn't there for W3, these folks are spending hundreds of billions of dollars. They have they have an idea of the money that's at stake. I don't think, and I could be wrong, I don't think money was as in front of the issue as it's going to be with this, because these folks have already spent hundreds of billions of dollars.
Yeah, although from what I've read, it's not going to be the conversation, but that's the weight.
Oh, well, that might be the conversation they're having in public. That's the thought.
That's what we're going to see. So.
Yeah, we're going to, but the money, it's always the power and the money. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah, so I think like there's two things, right? I think there's standardization and interoperability, but there's also just open source alternative, right?
Yeah.
You don't need I think the lessons learned here from this attack, and the irony of it, right, is that like open source comes to save the day. Open source, open way come and save the day, right? Because
that's interesting.
A company like Hugging Face, right? They have every single model hosted on their platform, right? They have, you know, and they choose to resort to the most powerful model, Fable, and then it choose to strike at that moment when they need it. So they have to use some other, you know, open source model which they are hosted and to resolve this problem. I think every company probably needs something like that, right? Because if you, at the end of the day, if you are not the one putting in the guardrail, right, there's always a little bit of, I would say, misalignment, right? There's always about because the companies like, I mean, Anthropic or OpenAI, they may say that, well, we put guardrails in there to be aligned to human value, right? But hey, at any one specific moment, my value, what's important to me right now, right, may not be perfectly aligned to the rest of the humanity at the moment too, right? Yeah. So I need to address those, right? So I think that's the thing. That's why open way and open source community or a healthy ecosystem of it is so important now.
Yeah. Well, the other side, ultimately, it's all going to boil down to what the first lesson I learned in politics, which is who controls what, right? And that also means, it can mean, for example, local control over your AI, you know, and your agents, so to speak.
But then that goes against their constitution, right?
I know.
Because the same thing.
They don't look. That's their constitution right now, right? It's not the world of AI's constitution, right? It's their constitution.
I just want to quickly add before we get out here: is Hugging Face a quiet power? Do they have more power than we think they have? Because right now we always talk about Anthropic and OpenAI and something. Does Hugging Face have more power than we think they have in all this stuff?
What do you mean by power? Because I mean, they host all the open source.
So do they have more? Do they have more say in what's going to happen than we are giving?
I mean, okay. Well, I mean, they have a lot of the model, but they don't actually develop them. They are a hosting platform, right?
But they are there any other companies that have all the models?
uses them, I think, too, don't they? called Hugging Face or
Uh,
something?
I mean, a lot of them. I mean, there are a lot of. I mean, all the company. It's basically anyone. Like even for me, I mean, I'm building some app right now, right? And now we need to use the AI. I could use. I could use Hugging Face. I could download the entire model, right?
Yeah.
Down from. I could put in. I like I said, I don't put it on my own laptop. I put it on my cloud, my Google Cloud, right? And I run it from there, right? So it's. I mean, you don't have to do it through Hugging Face either. There's a whole bunch of other platforms like Olama,
Okay.
Open Router. There are lots of
Yeah.
other these public kind of hosting kind of platforms too. Hugging Face is probably the biggest one, most popular one.
Yeah, it was still early. It's still early in that game. So anyway, I think we should.
Yeah, we can talk about this
otherwise
stuff
we'll go
forever.
on. There's a lot more to talk about.
All right.
Sure.
Well, it was very interesting.
Yeah.
All this, even Michael's tying us the Microsoft Meta into all this. So
Yeah,
it was
it's all because
like-
of Agent.
it's a supersized taking the lid off. And yeah, actually, I felt like the lid was taken off today because I learned a lot. So this is great.
I actually literally called it the lid on my summary. I said, you watch for the fight between the lid and OpenAI, right? So,
Wow. Oh, so you're just calling him the
I'll
lid?
admit
now?
the
the lid. I just called him the lid. I was
So
like,
your official nickname is now
the
Michael
lid.
the Lid.
Right.
I don't think I could take on a fight with OpenAI.
That's the way I characterize it. The lid versus OpenAI.
Wow. That's
And the
quite the
rogue
battle,
agents.
sir.
The rogue
Good,
agents.
good luck with that one, Michael. Sounds like it's gonna be a rough battle there. All right. So
I think I had to admit defeat here.
so on behalf of the lid, I like that. I actually kind of like that as a nickname.
Works.
I'm Brent Leary.
I'm Paul Greenberg.
Here's Minnie.
She is the one.
Now we can say goodbye. We'll see you next week. Oh, next week. Remember, special Zoho at 30 episode. So join.
Can't wait.
Bye.